Hi everybody, I just wanted to give you a short video talking to you about the new Literacies case study project. We are finally ready to do it. I think that you've completed all of the readings that you need to kind of get a grounding in the literacies as we're understanding it in this course. And again, that's just one small chunk of the way we understand literacies now as a field, but it is a good focus for you all to try to figure out what literacies can mean from a particular perspective. And so you've done your readings in both your textbook and also the articles, and those are the big movers and shakers in the new literacies and the way that it's working now. So that's contemporary scholarship, and also in your reading circles book. So that's kind of a more focused look for your own area. And so I think that you're ready in that sense, and you're also ready because you've practiced a whole bunch of different ways of interacting with media and creating media through your blog posts. And so now I think you're at a point to really apply that and to synthesize what you've learned from the readings and from your own creation and your own skills at working with media. And so you are at a point where you can actually synthesize all the information. And I'm going to have you do that rather than looking outside of yourself. I'm going to have you look at your own life at one particular time in your life, one particular moment, and it can be now. It doesn't matter when that is. It just matters that it's bounded. So keep it within a time frame. So it could be early adolescence. It could be starting your first teaching job. It doesn't matter what particular time period it is. It just matters that it's bounded and significant to you. And then within that time period, you're going to choose some literacy or some aspect of literacy to focus on. And so that's how you begin. And then you're going to create a set of artifacts through media production of different kinds. You can use what we've done in blog posts already. So that was set up to get you ready to do this kind of synthesis project. So create media for each of the elements of your literacy that you're going to be focusing on. So probably about three. I would say three different aspects of a literacy practice that you're going to focus on for that particular time period. And you're going to create media that shows us those particular ideas and those particular parts of that literacy practice. And you're also going to blend in the readings that we've read so far. You don't have to do additional research. We have done that reading for you. I set the class up so that you do that reading already. You don't need to look outside of the course readings unless you want to, but there's no need to. Look within those readings to see how we should understand these different literacy moments and what is happening in those literacy moments. So really synthesize what is happening from the readings in that particular time period in that literacy practice in that part of your life. And you're going to do that both with the readings and with the media that you are creating to demonstrate that. Both the readings and the media are evidence to prove whatever point it is you're making about your literacy practices. So you're going to be doing that. And think of your media not as supplement, but as evidence. It is proving what you're talking about. So you're going to have your media, you're going to have your quotations, and then you're going to explain how that's proving your point, both with your media and with your quotations and other information from the readings. So think about your media and your quotations in that way. Everything needs to apply to whatever points you're making about your literacy practice or practices at that particular time. It is an add-on, and everything actually needs to apply. So don't try to make it a quota. In other words, there is a certain number of things that I would like for you to have that would make sense for this kind of project. You know, you need at least 3 pieces of media. You know, you need at least 5 pieces of information or quotations from textbook chapters in your articles in your book. But beyond that, it really does need to just fit. It needs to make sense with your argument that you're making about your literacy practices. So even if you meet the quota but none of them apply, or only 2 of them apply, it still is not going to meet that requirement. Everything really needs to work together to be proving the points that you are talking about in your project. So you're going to begin with a thick description of your time period, and you're going to end with a thesis statement that really overall tells us what you learned. So it's not an organizational thesis statement that will say, I learned about my literacy practice vaguely through X, Y, and Z. It's not going to be that. It really is overall, this is what my literacy practice at that time means. So you want to do that. You're going to, what did you discover about your literacy practice during that specific part of your life, and why does it matter given what you know about literacies now? That's what you're going to answer with your thesis statement. And then your rest of your paper or your project is really going to be different ways that you see that, different parts that will, how you got, different ways that you got to that answer, right? Different answers to that broken down into your subpoints. Each of your subpoints is going to have media, and each of your subpoints is going to have quotations. All of your media and your quotations need to have an introduction to them, and then give them whatever it is, your media or your quotation. Be sure to cite correctly if it's from your readings. And then you're going to have explanation after each one. So think about each one as having an intro, whatever it is, media or quotations, and explanations. The explanations show us, given what we see with your media, your quotations, this is how it proves my point. Don't skip on the explanations. You really need them. It might be tempting to just put your media in there and leave it and go on to the next point. Don't just go on to the next point, though. Really explain how these are proving what you're having to say. And then after each section or each subpoint, however many paragraphs that is, then you're going to tie that back to your large central point, your thesis statement, and then move on to the next. And so you'll have about 3 of those different kinds of subpoints, and you'll conclude with your case study project with a paragraph or 2 that situates it within the larger literacies field. So this is where you're saying, overall, given what I understand about literacies from this class, this is where I think I fit in. So it's kind of, it's really cementing that thesis statement and expanding on it. Just saying, overall, this is where I think my literacies work. So this project is going to be about a 12 to 15 page paper, or an equivalent if you're using other media. That includes your written work and your media itself. All your media needs to be embedded within your project, not linked out to it. It needs to literally be part of your project, because you're actually putting your media within your paragraphs. It is part of your paragraphs, not something that's at the beginning or end. It's something that's integrated fully and explained fully as part of your subpoints. And so it needs to definitely be there and embedded in there. You can do this as a website, but it has to be really good. It has to follow all of the guidelines of the assignment. So you can't just do a cursory job, even though, just because it's a website. You can't do a cursory job. It's still going to be the same thing. It's just that that's how you're presenting it, rather than on a Google Doc, for instance. Most people choose to do these on Google Docs, these kinds of projects in my classes, and so that's an option for you. If you're going to do something besides a WordPress or a Google Doc, clear that with me before you get started, so I can make sure that it will work. This can't be video or audio only, because it really is a mix of media and written work. And all of your media, also keep in mind, it needs to have all of the elements, all the multimodal elements that we've been talking about in class. It doesn't mean each piece of media has to be an equal combination, but you need to show, it's a synthesis project, right? You need to show that you're able to express yourself with visuals, with audio, with movement, right? Some kind of video, so that it shows that you have these range of skills and you're able to talk about those and really apply them throughout. So keep that in mind when you're talking about your media. So overall, you're going to explore your own literacy practices at a particular period of time through both written and media work. You're going to put it all together in one project, and you're going to really explain and really apply what you've learned in this class, showing all and highlighting all the things that you've learned in the class in both the understandings about literacy and in the media production. Unfortunately, this class, remember I told you it was revamped to meet the needs of the students in this particular class, and so there are no models for this because you're doing so much media production, which my other courses did not do. This is the appropriate synthesis kind of assignment for this particular version of 5310. But there's no previous models for it. All the other ones were far more just solely written, and so I don't think they give a good model for this. So in that way, you're going it on your own, but you're definitely prepared for this. You are absolutely 100% prepared to do this synthesis work. It really is just doing what you've done all together in one project. So I think you're definitely all ready for this, and I'm excited to see what you produce.